back. Same circuit, different weekend. Will we have a different winner? And Extreme E, the first race weekend is underway in Saudi Arabia. The Desert X Prix will tell you all the latest things, which teams are in the top three, and which teams are already going home, right here on Grid Live. Hello and welcome to Grid Live Pre-Race. We invite you to comment in the chat room with questions and your opinions. Love to share them on the air. Joe Samaniego here, along with Kobe Lammons from the podium finish, MotoGP, and the latest from the first Extreme E race weekend at Saudi Arabia. We'll start with what should be another exciting MotoGP race weekend.
Yeah, another exciting weekend. And last weekend was an action-packed MotoGP race. We saw Maverick Vinales overtake the fast Ducati's. Mir lost second place, coming to the finish line. And tire management cost Jack Miller the favorite entering the weekend. And here's the good news. We're back at the same track like you said. And the bad news, Ducati is, again, the fastest on the track. So for the other manufacturers out there, you're going to have to try to keep up with those Ducatis. So, Joe, here's my question for you. Is Ducati capable of winning this weekend, or are the tire issues still a problem for all the riders?
I think the tire issue is definitely going to be a big factor when it comes to this race. Overall, for Ducati, I think they definitely have some of the knowledge, experience, especially after the last race weekend, to overcome those tire issues and have a better race performance. The big thing we're seeing, they're still fast out there. They're still going to be some of the favorites to beat. The big thing is just tire management, and I feel this weekend will be a much easier route for them to claim a victory.
And last weekend, we all picked Jack Miller to win, and Adam, our supercars expert, went with Mir. Both of them did not finish on the podium, so I have to believe we cursed them there, Joe. And Miller, again, with Ducati and tire management, did not work out. Mir and Suzuki looked really fast. The last corner cost them a podium finish. No pun intended there, as I'm from the podium finish. Which rider is most likely to be on the podium, Miller or Mir?
I believe it has to be Mir. He's overall showing a lot of improvement. Last practice session, he was up there. Big thing for Jack Miller is, again, just those tire management. And I feel it's just a little bit more extra time, whereas Mir, if he had gotten that last corner perfectly executed, he would have been on the podium. It didn't work out, but I believe Mir is most likely to get that podium finish.
Yeah, and entering today, Ducati was 1, 2, 3 with Quartararo, the fastest Yamaha. Practice 3 earlier today, Fabio Quartararo was the fastest, but no Ducati rider except one. Yeah, and we do have free practice 4 coming up shortly. Qualifying will get underway around 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific today. In 2 qualifying sessions, the top 10 are locked into Q2, going for the pole. When it comes to qualifying today, which riders are most likely to take pole?
For pole, I'm looking at the Ducati riders. They're most likely. Yamaha, Quartararo was the fastest, but as you mentioned, only one Ducati rider set a time out there. And it wasn't any of the factory riders of Pecco or Miller. So it's going to be really interesting to see if the Quartararo, maybe Vinales, I mean, he got that win. He really showed a lot of speed. I see the Suzukis, they're going to be up there. I will be surprised if Mir or one of the Suzuki riders don't make it into Q2, but I believe the Ducati riders are still the favorite for the weekend.
And of course, the rider that scored the win last weekend was Maverick Vinales. On lap 1, he was down in 7th and worked his way past everyone to win the race. Is Vinales back after a not-so-great 2020 season?
I say so, especially he looked so impressive that last race weekend. Has all the confidence, momentum entering this weekend. Might be a little bit somewhere in the top 10 when it comes to starting, but I will not be shocked if he does the same repeat performance, coming up, taking care of those tires, and at the end pulling away and making it 2 in a row.
And all the attention has been on Ducati and Yamaha. However, Suzuki looks fast, especially Mir. Many were not sure if he'd be a serious challenger for the championship. One year ago, one win. He was in Q1 the previous weekend, got in Q2, and almost had a podium. What was your impression of Suzuki this past weekend and so far on this second consecutive weekend?
Last weekend, I felt Suzuki seemed a little bit out of the gate slow, but Juan Mir overcame going from Q1, making it into Q2, almost getting that podium. That didn't work out for him. This weekend, though, he seems a lot more race ready. He is out there setting fast times. He is competitive. I see him being in Q2 easily. Same with Rins, his teammate. No issues. They could be a big spoiler, and especially Mir last race weekend coming up towards the front near the end of the race. If he could do that again this weekend, him, Vinales, the Ducati riders, we could have a very exciting race for the win.
Yes, I'm sure all of the fans are really hoping that we're going to see an exciting race tomorrow. And with Honda, we saw Paul Espargaro finish eighth and Bradell 11. Marquez once again is going to be out and hopeful that he's going to return after the 12th of April in time for the third round in Portugal. Do you believe Honda is in a better place compared to last year? It really, like I said before, it really seems like before his injury, Marquez was carrying that manufacturer.
It did seem like Mark Marquez was carrying that manufacturer. One of the big things, seeing Honda, we know two of them went out of the race. Then we saw Brattle and Espargaro, big finish, but only one in the top 10. That's overall an improvement for Honda, I would say, considering where they were last year. Still, it seems to be very dependent on Mark Marquez being in the race, carrying the manufacturer. But overall, especially if we see the other two Honda finish the race, Nakagami and Alex Marquez, I could see them being within the top 15 and a good race, especially if everything goes their way. If they could figure out something with tire management, that could be a huge advantage. I would not be surprised if we have at least two Hondas, possibly the two factory Hondas, in the top 10 by the time the race finishes tomorrow.
Yes, that would definitely be huge for Honda. And looking back at last week one more time, definitely a lot of action. And the weather conditions are very similar to last race weekend. Do you believe we'll see a similar race, or now a week later, is it going to be a completely different race and a different podium in the top three? I remember last year with Formula One when we raced at Silverstone twice, it was two completely different races.
Two completely different races. One of the big things I feel, the Ducatis are still going to be hard to beat. The big thing for them, tire management, making sure that is not going to be so much of a setback for them. Yamaha, Vinales, Suzuki, Mir, I see them towards the front. The big thing is going to come down to, I think, what we're going to see in qualifying, which is going to be essentially at the top of the hour. We know we got free practice coming up shortly. That's going to determine who's in Q1, Q2. If you're in Q2, you're going to be in the top 10. You're in the top 10, have that good start. That's the big thing. I see a very competitive race. We may have at least one rider from the last week's podium on the podium this weekend. It's going to be really hard to determine who's going to be the winner for next race weekend.
And speaking of winners, it's time for everyone's favorite game. Pick a winner. We know Matt White from the Great World Motorsport League went with the defending champion Mir to win this weekend. And I'm going to start off and go first with my pick a winner. I think it's going to be Fabio Quartararo, who was the fastest in the latest practice session. Joe, who do you think is going to win the MotoGP race?
I'm going to go with the rider that was in second place, entering the final corner on the last lap, and then fell to fourth place on the straightaway, Juan Mir. I see him going out there, getting the win, being a big win for him, especially being the defending champion and proving to everyone, hey, he is a serious title defender. Even when Mark Marquez does come back, and we encourage everyone in the chat room, comment with who do you think is going to win the race. We'll love to see if you get it correctly. We'll display it here on the air. So if you get it right, you could be on the leaderboard. And of course, we do this on TikTok as well. So definitely follow the Grid Network on TikTok. Another new series that we are following this weekend, Extreme E, Saudi Arabia, the site of the first inaugural Extreme E race weekend. Very historic for this unique racing series, the first all-electric off-road racing series, with the mission of promoting climate change awareness and bringing awareness of some of these remote locations and preserve them for future generations. First series to have also gender equality requirement for drivers racing. So we have an equal amount of male and female racers in the field. Shakedown was yesterday, and Kyle LeDuc from Ganassi Racing had an extreme off. Here is his vehicle prior to that off. A lot of repairs to their Hummer EV vehicle. Kyle is teamed up with Sarah Price. Both of them are experienced off-road racers driving for Chip Ganassi, All-American team, right there in Saudi Arabia. However, this morning we had another big accident. Stefan Sassaran had a major crash. He is okay, but unfortunately for his Belarus racing team, they were unable to make their repairs and essentially had to withdraw from the race weekend. Tough break for the racing team and Jamie Chadwick. When it comes to that team withdrawing, especially right before the race was to begin tomorrow, how big of a setback is it for the two of them?
Oh, Joe, this is a significant setback because with Stefan Saracen going out and crashing, first of all, we're very happy that he's okay from that big shunt, but they're not gonna have the track time. Both of them don't really have the type of off road experience as some of the contenders in the field. I mean, some of them do and some of them don't, which really makes this interesting. And this team is not gonna have the data or experience in these racing conditions. And this is actually a short championship. It's 5 rounds spaced out throughout the rest of the 2021 calendar year. So you're already out. That means you only have 4 more rounds left to try to make up those points, and you're not going to be receiving any points this weekend. So this is indeed a significant setback.
I agree with everything you said, and especially from what we saw at the shakedown and qualifying. Definitely the shakedown, they were taking a more easy, learning the track, the vehicle. Qualifying, we saw everybody was really going all out, trying to get that fast lap time. All the drivers participating. Very excited to see everything. Of course, it was very important for Jamie Chadwick not get a chance to lay down qualifying lap, and essentially her first race weekend is already done. Now we did have another big accident. Claudia rolled over her vehicle several times at a high rate of speed. She is okay, thankfully, and that team is working on making repairs to try to make it in. Now, of course, I did mention Jamie Chadwick. Of course, she is very well known for tarmac racing, and another driver making his off-road racing debut, Formula One world champion Jenson Button. Of course, he won the world champion several years ago. How big of a learning curve is it for especially racers on tarmac? And they're going to be doing off-road racing against Sebastian Loeb, Carlos Sainz Sr., some of the best off-road racers on the planet. It's amazing.
Yeah, Joe, it is amazing, especially when you look at someone like Jensen Button, who's an accomplished racer, and Jamie Chadwick, who's a household name and a W Series champion. It's really crazy that we have so many high caliber drivers in this championship going up against people who have been doing this their entire life, like Carlos Sainz Sr., Sebastian Loeb, some of the biggest names in off road racing. In the world is definitely going to be a learning curve. But I do think that the Carlos Sainz and the Sebastian Lowe's of the world are definitely going to have an advantage because they're used to doing this kind of racing. And for drivers like Jensen Button who don't have the experience, I do think he's going to be able to catch on. But those who've been doing it their entire life are obviously going to have an edge here.
You're going to have a huge edge. One of the big things, the new vehicle, the new format, going to make a little bit of an equalizer. But already we're seeing Sebastian Lowe, they're up front already. Essentially, they put Extreme E44, Lewis Hamilton's team, on the pole with Sir Lewis Hamilton's team on the pole. Behind them, we have Rosberg, the Sainz pair, and it's a very interesting semifinal race where you have essentially Hamilton, Rosberg, and then, of course, a pair of Sainz family members driving the red 55. Of course, we all know Carlos Sainz this year is driving the Ferrari 55. Very interesting. The crazy race, we have Andretti, Hispano, and of course Jenson Button's team there. Winner of that race advances to the semifinal, and the semifinal, the top two advances to the final. Kobe, what are your thoughts on the semifinal, especially since we have, if you're a Formula One fan, you got Sir Lewis Hamilton's team, Nico Rosberg team, and as I mentioned, the Sainz family with the 55 in the red vehicle. pretty good weekend considering there's no Formula One.
Oh yeah, definitely. It's like Hamilton and Rosberg once again, but in a different series as team owners. This is going to be really cool for the series, especially in their first race. In the number 55, Carlos Sainz, and his son Carlos Sainz Jr., who's a Formula One driver for Ferrari. That number 55 is synonymous to Formula One fans now. And overall, just having those names in the star power, it's a massive draw to the series. Yeah, you have Jensen Button there with his team, Nico Rosberg, Lewis Hamilton. Everybody knows about their rivalry in Formula One and Andretti Autosport. Ton of star power, tons of big names. I think that it's important for all of these. Well, just Extreme E in general to have these big names come out to support the series, because otherwise, if you're getting a bunch of racers out there, no disrespect to the racers who don't have the type of influence as all of the racers that I'm mentioning. But if you didn't have a Lewis Hamilton, Nico Rosberg, Jensen Button involved in the series, Sebastian Loeb, Carlos Sainz, then I think it would be really hard for viewers to get tuned into this series.
You bring up a really great point, especially considering the remote nature of all the races that we have this year. We only have 5 rounds. The big thing, of course, with the pandemic, no media's out there, so everything's provided by the Extreme E crew out there. To have those big names, there will definitely be a big draw. Hopefully, in the future, especially post pandemic, we do have events where you have some sort of fans in attendance. That's always a big win for any series. And definitely when it comes to the star power, and especially the Formula One headline we seem to have going on right now, I think it's going to draw a lot of viewers tomorrow to watch it. Now, of course, Fox Sports 1 in the United States will have coverage of Extreme E tomorrow. Very excited to see the opening race weekend of a brand new racing series. Not too often now we see brand new professional motorsport series coming in. And of course, Sunday we have the grid ranking. Week 1 will be released. Formula E, MotoGP, NASCAR, Supercar Series, and World Rally Champions are all scored. Formula One and IndyCar, they will be scored once they have completed 2 events. So a very exciting time for the Grid Network and, of course, the Grid Ranking, as they'll be kicking off this season shortly. We also want to thank Colin, our Patreon supporter. Been a Patreon supporter for almost a year. We're approaching 1 year on the air since our first airing of Grid Tonight. So a very exciting time for us all right here. And we encourage everyone to visit Publis. 10% discount for all Grid Network viewers. Link in the video description. Overall, very exciting when it comes to the race weekend going on and everything here in the Grid Network. With Kobe Lamb at the podium finish, I'm Joe Sandiego. Thank you for joining us. Enjoy the races and be sure to catch free practice with MotoGP starting up right now. Joe Samaniego here. Want to invite you to go check out Publis. Publis is a dog clothing and accessory company based in Austria. 10% of each of your purchases goes to helping dogs in need, whether it's homeless, sick, or ill dogs. This is one of the reasons why we support it. Kiska here is a rescue dog from rural Alaska and our Grid office dog. We care about our furry buddies, and we know you do as well. Definitely check out Publis.com. There's a link on the video description, and by clicking on that link, you get a 10% discount on your purchase as well.